Welcome to One Life, the podcast where we embrace the journey of living fully and intentionally in every area of life. My name is Matt Farnham, and while I don't have it all figured out, I'm walking this journey with you, convinced we don't have to choose between a thriving career and thriving relationships, health, and purpose. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And together we'll explore how to create work-life harmony, reject the lies of comparison, steward our gifts, and embrace the life God desires for all of us. Welcome to One Life. Hello, welcome back to the One Life podcast. I want to thank you for listening to our podcast and being a part of the One Life community. Super excited to share my guest with you today. Jason has just meant so much to me in this journey of One Life. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's special not just because of who his influence is, but really he was maybe one of the primary voices that pushed me to do this. So without further ado, let me give you a more formal introduction, and then I'll start the conversation here with Jason. So Jason is one of the most sought-after marketing minds and speakers in real estate today. As a top coach with Tom Ferry and co-founder of AI Marketing Academy, Jason trains thousands of agents across North America with practical, powerful strategies for winning in today's market, especially when it comes to AI, social, and digital marketing. He's a national speaker, a trusted voice in the industry, and a true expert at turning complex ideas into simple, repeatable action steps. Jason lives in Nashville with his wife, Alyssa, and their two boys, Leo and Nico. And I'm honored to have him on the show. So Jason, man, thanks for being here. Welcome.
Matt, thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited for this opportunity to participate in this amazing podcast and the work you're doing, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Super honored to have you. So just to kind of start with that full circle moment I alluded to a moment ago, is you were one of the loudest voices, without being like directly related to me, like my wife or super close here in Vegas with me, but perhaps the loudest voice outside of my family to push me to do this. I'm just curious, like maybe share with our listeners why. Why did you push? What did you see as the opportunity or the need here, and why did you push me on this?
Because, to be honest with you, I felt like I was being pushed to push on some level. I do. I don't know how to explain that. It just felt right. And we were having these dialogues, and we're going back now several months. How do I say this without like inflating your ego right now? I think you're an incredible person. I think you're articulate.
I did not tee that question up for me, I promise.
I think you're super articulate. You're a natural leader. You're a leader in every walk of your life. And I think that the concept of this podcast is critically important. I think there's a work going on in our industry in particular right now, and I think that you are being used in that. I don't know if you're mentioning on the show or not, but I think Rooted and the work you've done in Rooted has been really, really powerful. And I think this is a continuation of that effort, and I just think you're being used. And I think that this is the natural extension of just more of that positive influence, not for your glory. And I'm really, really excited that you took the step to do this. I know it was big, and I know you are learning all the equipment and the gear, but the message is just massively important.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Yeah, I figure if the burden's strong enough, then the tech will work itself out right over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely,
Rooted, man. You brought up Rooted. So for our listeners, you might hear about Rooted ever so often on this podcast. It's completely separate. Rooted is a faith-based group I actually started out of Tom Ferry conferences to kick off our conferences, getting our minds and hearts rooted in Christ before we kick off these conferences that can stress us all out more than before we got there sometimes. Yeah. And now it's a weekly virtual Bible study with agents all across the country. So if you're listening and you're interested, just DM me, hit me up, and I'd love to get you the information for Rooted. So thanks for plugging that a little bit, Jason.
Yeah, hey, easy to do.
So, man, you have a life of impact. I mean, you are speaking all over the country on stage after stage, webinar after webinar, a lot of impact, a lot of influence. You pour out a lot, but what keeps you energized and on mission?
So one, I'm very fortunate to get to enjoy the work I do. And I think like anybody else, I have moments of burnout or moments of questioning or moments of exhaustion, whatever it might be, moments of boredom, or I just become, maybe complacent with the work I do. And then it doesn't take a lot of effort to kind of say, whoa, pump the brakes. Look at what you get to be a part of. Look at how exciting that is. Look at what has happened in your life. And none of this was by my design. I mean, I got into my work by total mistake, by total accident. I didn't ask for any of this. I've just been here along for the ride, and it's been a great ride. So I think having a level of humility about the work I get to do and not taking myself too seriously or thinking I'm all that or putting pressure on me to have to come up with stuff and just saying like, hey, you know what? I think I've been uniquely equipped and talented, made to be talented, whatever the phrasing is on that, for doing this kind of work. And I should do the best I can in the moments of the day and not sweat it beyond that. And so it's a matter of perspective that I think keeps me grounded to why I'm doing it. And I'm in a work that I think has some high risk of becoming glory seeking. And so it's just natural. You're on the stage. So it's a continual effort of keeping good people around me. My wife is huge. And just having dialogue about why are we doing this? What really matters? What doesn't matter? And I also think remembering the story, I don't know why I think of this, but it's like remembering the story of how you got where you are is an important thing to go back to because I didn't get here, like I said a second ago, by any of my own decisions or any of my own efforts. I'm doing what I'm doing because I believe that it was put before me to do this work, and I'm going to try to do it to the best of my abilities as far as that goes, not for my own glory, but for whatever purposes there may be. And I don't always know what impact it's having. And I think that's probably true in anybody's walk, in anybody's life. They're just, I don't know. Does that make any sense? I don't know if I'm making sense or not.
What I'm almost hearing you allude to is stewardship. Like you've been given a platform, you've been given a huge opportunity, and you've been gifted in such a way to step into that. But you said a couple things that I think we should lean into just a little bit real quick. Is number one, you said the word burnout.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing in our industry. I mean, you're on a different end of our industry. Of course, you're not necessarily in the trenches selling real estate, but it's the same jam. It's entrepreneurship. It's hustle. You get rewarded for hustle in our industry, right?
Yeah.
So to avoid that burnout, to maintain that humility and that perspective of what ultimately is it? You mentioned your wife, Alyssa. I'm sure she's a huge part of this. But how do you stay grounded in the midst of all the, I mean, it really is, especially what you do every day, Jason, you are rewarded for hustle.
Yeah, I think we all are. I mean, for most of the folks who are interested in a podcast like this, I think they can relate to that idea of performance-based work. We have our different versions of stages and performance. And unfortunately, you can work your face off and the customer can still leave you and you can still be left with nothing. And that feeling of chasing can create desperation. Yeah. And that can then change your motivation for why you're doing what you're doing. And so I think it's important to maintain a perspective of I'm being provided for, I'm being cared for. It's not mine. It's an opportunity I have to do this work right now, and I have confidence that I'll be provided for and that I will be fine and I don't have to worry and sweat the small stuff. What do I do to stay sort of from being burnt out? Allow me to go on a little bit of a labyrinth of things that are maybe a part of that.
Go for it.
And I want to be the first to say, like, I am not perfect at this. Really am not perfect at this. Just like anybody else, I have highs and lows. I have ups and downs. I have some seasons that are more intense or less intense, and I don't want to act like I'm some perfect example of this. My wife, as you mentioned, I mentioned already, she's absolutely critical. I have a very godly, very lovely, very wonderful wife who we communicate a lot. We talk a lot. We do life together. We work together. Everything we raise kids together. She is my partner in life in all things. And so the first thing I would say is, and I know that, spiritually, obviously I'm never alone, but I'm very fortunate to have a partner in my wife who I'm never doing this alone. I may be out traveling and speaking, but we're a team everywhere we go. And so I think that level of connectedness makes you feel like you're on a team and not doing your own thing. I think it's a big deal. I think obviously making time for reading scripture, for devotions, for taking time to be filled up by by things beyond just the world and the demands of your job is mission critical. That's something I've been thinking about more lately as well, is just time. I've been very challenged lately, being vulnerable and honest with this. I would say, limited time, and I have a pretty busy day. And I've been questioning, you've heard the old adages before, time, talents, and treasures. How are you doing in terms of allocating your efforts there? And I'm like, honestly, on the time front, I could do a lot better than I've been doing. And so I've been more intentional, and it's not to be like this legalistic, I've got to do it by my own means, but it's just a matter of thinking. I I don't know if I'm answering your questions well or poorly, but it's, I think, setting aside time daily for just to be filled up and to be encouraged and inspired, being
Yeah.
plugged in at my church and being able to go there and be filled up with other people who are on mission and they're helping each other, serving each other. Those are the things that I'm doing on a regular basis to try to keep myself from burning out.
It's perfectly answered, Jason, because what you're being right now is vulnerable and just raw, right? And that's what this, if you're listening to this show right now, wherever you're at, I've said it before, there's no PhD in harmony. Like, you never arrive. It's a constant, especially if you're in entrepreneurship and you have aspirations and ambition and you've been gifted and there's always opportunity. But what you're hearing Jason describe is just this constant, like, it's this tension, right? And that's the whole vision of One Life. If you're listening, is, he mentioned time. Like, time is something that we're all limited on, and I think that's the ultimate, hope and vision for One Life is that when the family and the mission and the purpose and all those things are aligned with the business, time almost becomes, it's so fluid because it all is working together. And one thing I love that you said, Jason, and I want to really just kind of double click on this, is if you notice, if you're listening, how he spoke about his wife. When you're an entrepreneur or a realtor, whoever, whatever you are listening to this, your spouse is part of your business, whether they're licensed or not, right?
Yeah.
Whether they have the certification you do or not. Like, it is definitely a family business. And I think a lot of times the entrepreneur, he or she that tries to compartmentalize that marriage separate from the business, that's a challenge, man. So I think I'm really glad you touched on that. It sounds like she's your partner in business and in.
Well, yeah, she is. And honestly, I think it's a good model for our kids too. I mean, they hear us having discussions about the business, about life, about things beyond just work. We don't only ever talk about work, but that's certainly a big piece of what we discuss because that's the work before us right now, at least for my role in my job. And so they get to see us working together, talking through conversations. She'll be supportive to me, I'll be supportive to her, and so forth. But it's definitely a team effort. And I also think what's important is being clear together about why we're doing the work. I think some could say it's as linear as having a goal, but I think it's bigger than a goal. I think a lot of goals can be very worldly and very self-focused. And I don't know, I mean, maybe this is just me. Maybe not everybody's wired like this. I've often always said I'm better suited as having a king to serve versus trying to be the king myself. And I do better work when I am having some kind of an aim like that. And so I think for me, focusing in and having more dialogue about, okay, here's where we're at in our world. Here's what's going on. Here's what's happening with that. Here's what we're involved in. I just think it gives you a perspective of, I'm not trying to build my own little mini kingdom here. I'm just trying to do the work that's in front of me. I'm trying to do it with excellence. I'm not trying to, and I struggle because I'm a perfectionist. And so it's very easy for me to get into I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I want it to be great. And it's very easy my wife's very good at spotting that behavior in me and making me lovingly aware of it so I can snap out of it and try to get myself back on the right reasons for why. And I think people have different fuels, different reasons for why they do what they do. Some of them, they want this, they want to be amazing. Sometimes they're just hell-bent on a specific outcome. They just want to do something. Or they get really committed and obsessed, which is how I tend to be wired. I just want to make it awesome, but I don't really know why half the time other than to make it awesome. And so I think it's really important to, on a daily basis, ask yourself, why are we doing this? Why am I doing this? What's the motivation behind it? And if the motivation starts pointing back at me and my ego and my glory, you've got a big problem. And you are running off the cliff of burnout very quickly because you're going to find out just how short of a fuse pursuing your own self-glory really is. It's not enough to motivate anybody for very long.
100%. And this episode's about you and questions I want you to be the primary voice, but just to speak to that for a moment. I had a moment a couple weeks ago, Jason. I was just so frustrated. I'm learning this new tech, right? Like this, I'm not the most techie guy. And I want everything to be quality. And the perfectionism, by the way, I heard recently, and that's really kind of hit me right in between the heart and between the eyes. But
yeah.
Lewis Howes said, perfectionism is nothing more than just worrying way too much what people think about you. And I'm like, dang, that's really what it is for me. And I was getting so frustrated at like this podcast and other things I'm working on because I want everything to be great. And then I left the office, had a little pouting session with myself in my journal. I start journaling all the stuff that I'm upset about. and really all the lies I'm buying into. And then I said, what's true? Like, why am I really doing all this? And I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it because I feel like I'm called to get this message out there and help a lot of people. And it took all the pressure off because I'm not worried about, yeah, of course, excellence is important. I want to put my best effort into it, like you said. But at the end of the day, if I'm not doing it for me and my own glory, then why am I so worried about all these other
Yeah.
little details I really can't control anyways, right?
Well, and I can imagine for anybody, myself included, who feels like, hey, there's not enough time in the day. I can't get it all done. There's always a list I can never finish. I've got to give every ounce of attention I've got every day of the week toward solving these problems. That's a really great way to put a faith-based entrepreneur sort of in this little chasing their own tail syndrome, where they're never taking the time to pause, think about, why am I doing what I'm doing? Who am I doing it for? Is it all for me or not?
Yeah.
And that's a really, really great little trap because that keeps you from going nowhere. The lie is there's not enough time in the day to do what I have to do. We know that's not true. We know that's not true. We know that we're going to be given what we can handle and nothing more and beyond that. And the rest we don't have to worry about. We don't have to worry about tomorrow. We can worry about today. It's got enough of its own problems attached to it. But I think that it's really easy, especially in a state of hustle and being busy, to get caught up in the lie that I can't slow down. I can't take time to think or reflect about why I'm doing this. All these conversations about the why sounds puristic, and who has the time to do that? And I find myself thinking that from time to time, and I'm like, that's the lie. That's the very mechanism being used to prevent me from asking those questions, because I'll bet you 80% of what I'm doing probably doesn't have to happen, and or it's being done to produce the wrong outcomes because it's self-focused.
Yeah.
And so I think again, taking time every day to surrender your business, to surrender the outcomes, to surrender why you're doing it, and to remember how you got there in the first place is a healthy dose of medicine for every one of us in this business, to stay focused on what needs to be done and nothing more. And I'm not preaching, I'm talking to myself. This is me every day. This is the battle every day.
It is, man. And it starts for me, it's a strong morning routine. It's probably the same for you, Jason. Like it's just resetting yourself every day. There's a quick shout out for Craig Rochelle. If you're listening, he has an amazing leadership podcast, but he wrote a book called Winning the War in Your Mind. You heard Jason and I both just say something to the effect of expose the lie and replace it with truth.
That's
That's
right.
what the book is entirely about. It's amazing.
Right.
You guys should go get it if you're listening. So moving on, Jason, we talked about being anchored at home and how valuable your wife is. By the way, I love how you mentioned how your kids are always watching, and what a great model you're setting with communicating about marriage, family, and business in front of your kids and what that dynamic looks like. Like, I think a lot of parents try and compartmentalize their kids from that.
Yeah.
But man, what a better way to teach your kids what real life looks like than let them observe what that looks like, right? So I'd love that you do that.
Yeah, my kids are homeschooled, so they're part of the crew too.
Yep.
Which I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll turn out one day down the road to regret some of that, because I think there's probably a moderation principle for they don't need to be privy to every conversation.
Sure.
They lack the maturity to handle all of it, obviously.
Yeah.
But I definitely think when I was a kid, I had no idea. I was completely oblivious to everything around me in my life. And I don't criticize my parents. That's not not at all. But, we have been, from the very beginning of Leo, when he was born, our oldest, about not talking to them like babies, communicating, bringing them in, asking them questions. What would you do? What do you think about this? And so we try to involve them in some of the conversation with what we think is reasonable for them to handle based upon their 8 and 10. But I do think it's training for what does life actually look like.
Yeah.
And in the real world, so to speak.
Totally. I love it. So everybody knows Jason Pantana as like up in lights, marketing guru. Like I would say you're strongly the loudest and most recognized voice in marketing when it comes to real estate in our industry.
It's really kind.
But so we know what success looks like in business because it's very out front and obvious. That's front of stage, if you will.
Yeah.
I just want to go kind of behind the curtain for a moment, back of stage. What does success look like at home for Jason and Alyssa right now?
I'll just go off the cuff with what I'm thinking and feeling. Peace. I want my home to feel filled with peace and love. We're in momentum when we're doing our thing. That means we have a lot of activities. We're like anybody else running around practices and all kinds of stuff. We have them tonight. As soon as I get off with you, I'm jumping in the car and we're running out to martial arts as soon as we're done here. but I want to be in a state of together. These are just, I'll unpack these words. This is not, normally when I'm on a stage, I'm talking about marketing and subjects that I'm well rehearsed in discussing. This isn't a subject I'm overly well rehearsed in discussing.
Right.
So I'm being pretty vulnerable and unscripted and unedited right now.
I appreciate it.
I would say being together is something I look for. Like, I want to feel like we're together. We're moving together. I want to feel a sense of peace. We're connected. There's not tension. We're not fighting about stuff. And then I'm actually losing track of go back to the question one more time so I can clarify my answer a little bit.
Yeah, just real simple. Success in business is pretty obvious, front stage for you.
Yeah.
What does success at home look like for you? Kind of the back of house, if you will.
Success at home, I mean, this is silly. It's like we're laughing, we're together, we're doing our movie nights on the weekends, we're cooking together in the kitchen, the kids are out in the yard running around like maniacs, and my wife and I are sitting in lawn chairs talking and having fun. I mean, success is for us to be together. I'm not sure that was necessarily the angle you had in mind with that
There's no
question.
right answer.
Yeah, but that's content, happy, together. That's success for me.
You know what I heard? What you described without saying it, I heard present.
Yeah. We're just being a family. We're not thinking about tomorrow. We're not thinking about yesterday. We're just here today.
Yeah.
Doing our thing together. I know that's a little bit, maybe not very concrete for sure.
Yeah.
I think there's other successes. I mean, I know it's not that we don't have goals around, like right now, one of the focus points of our conversations with our boys is we talk about marriage and what does that mean and what does it look like to choose a life partner. We're talking about that now, instilling principles now. So it's not to say we aren't future focused in our conversations, but in our busy state of life, to me, success is being content, being together, being at peace, having fun as a family. That's success.
It's beautiful. I love it, man. And I think that leads perfectly in kind of the next. So as you know, Jason, the whole idea of this podcast and this One Life community is the idea of blurring the lines, right? We have one life. And I think my story is I compartmentalized so many things for so long and it was exhausting. Yeah. So when it comes to you and we're thinking about, purpose in life, family values, mission, wife, kids, church community, all the things that I know you're involved with. I mean, I know you're at the ball games. I know you lead worship and your worship band at church, I think, right? If I understand. And like, you're just very involved in a lot of things. How do you blur the lines between faith, family values, the way you show up in business? How would you sum that up? How have you figured out that collision of these worlds? I call it blurring the line.
I wouldn't say figured out at all. I would say I'm moving through it. I guess one is I'm an overthinker by nature. It's just I'm very analytic. I overthink everything. Sometimes I jump to worst case scenarios and catastrophize stuff. And this is one of those elements where I don't really overthink it. I don't really believe that I need to overthink it. Of all the things in my life that I am an overthinker on, this just isn't one of them. And I suppose it's because if I could frame it, and maybe this is how I would frame it, I believe my work was given to me. I don't believe it's any more important than anybody else's work. I believe everybody's given their work. I believe we're equipped with time, talent, and treasures to do the work that's set before us, and I want to execute faithfully. And I want to be careful, though I fail often, to not make it about myself, to not make me a mini God, serving myself, and how can I make my life here on earth as wonderful as possible? I want to have a bigger vision than that. How do I blur the lines? I'm looking at my screen over here. Our church did a series. We go to a church in Brentwood, Tennessee, and they had they called it Third Way, and it's a complex concept to break down, but it was walking through the book of 1 John, and it was really every service would end with these 4 statements. I'm going to read them. It was walk in the light, love without fear, hold fast to the truth, for he who calls you is faithful. And I feel like within that is this element of I'm just moving through life, and I'm going to go through work, I'm going to go through family, I'm going to go through hobbies and all these different aspects. And I agree with you that there's a danger to compartmentalizing them. I'm going to keep these over here and these over here and these over here. And I don't think that's how we're called to live. And I don't think you think that's how we're called to live either. I think you deny yourself the opportunity to be used in your work. I don't think it necessarily means, and this is just my interpretation, I don't think I have to be unnecessarily overt about my opinions and my faith. I don't think I have to use every opportunity to try to steer it to a different conclusion because I think it should be that. I think what it means is I want to approach as best as I possibly can every moment of every day, whether it's a work situation, a church situation, a family situation. And man, I'm bad at this, but I want to do this. I desire to do this. I want to approach it with this sense of I was brought here. What is it that I'm called to do in this moment? Not what do I think should be done, because I think we could look back at the history of ministry in our faith and be like, there's been a lot of people who injected their own sense of accomplishment into ministry and potentially not disrupted, that's the wrong word. But I don't think I want to have the Spirit move through me in these situations. I know I'm speaking in all these like all over the place kind of phraseology, so you're welcome to try to make sense of this at any
You're
point.
speaking my language, man. I mean, what I'm hearing, Jason, like, if those listening to this, I'm sure many people who listen to this episode now or down the road, you look up to Jason because you've seen him speak. You're part of AI Marketing Academy or something. He's done something to help you in your business. I hope this just affirms why you look up to Jason, because what I'm hearing you too, Jason, is I'm so happy right now for your boys, for Leo and Nico, because they're seeing the same dad at home as they're seeing at church, as they're seeing at the karate or swim practice, that they're seeing on stage. And that authenticity, for our listeners, it's so critical, guys. If you're a parent and your kids don't see the same mom or dad show up in different areas of their life, they're not going to buy it, period. So didn't mean the conversation to go that direction, but that's what I'm hearing as you're talking is just
and it's that. And again, don't want to act like I never have failings. I mean, it's easy to get on a podcast and talk a big game. Doesn't mean I don't work too long or get too involved in an outcome or overlook this issue going on at home because I'm thinking about things that I think are more important at the moment. I do. But in terms of, back to the focus of this podcast, how do you blur the lines? I think you drawing attention to that question is the very beginning of how do you blur the lines. You start thinking, why am I blurring the lines? And what's the trap behind that? And I'm involved in other things beyond, I play guitar at the church. That's fun for me. My background before I was this is years and years ago, but I was a musician at one point in time in my life. And it's nice to be able to reconnect with that a little bit and use that at church. And it's fun. I enjoy it. Do I know, is there a bigger calling or purpose behind why I'm doing it? I don't know. It's an opportunity came up and I said yes. And we'll see what comes of it. Yeah.
I'm telling Tom Ferry at some point, I want Jason on with the guitar on stage, man.
That's not going to happen. That's probably not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I will compartmentalize in that case.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, dude. Well, some of the stuff I wanted to ask you, you've already really alluded to it. Like alignment does get off track sometimes. But let's hit that real quick, Jason. When you do find yourself in those moments, and I do too, we all do, right? There's no PhD in harmony, but when you find yourself out of alignment or off track, how do you course correct? How do you get back in alignment with, everything we're talking about here?
Yeah, what a great question. How do you get back in alignment? You surrender, you repent, you acknowledge where you've done wrong, you ask for help. And then I think, again, not to make this legalistic thing, but, we're creatures of habit. We get into momentum and routine. You've got to block time every day to be in the Word. You've got to block time every day to be filled up versus just constantly outputting. And man, my nature, I see it in my boys too. They're curious. I get really fixated on stuff. Like before I was on this podcast with you, I spent the last hour and a half just chasing a couple of loose ends on AI things that are being developed right now because they were curious. I was fascinated by them. And so I can get myself really, really, really focused on what I think is important. And that's usually what eventually will run me off the rails back into, the failings that we're describing here. What brings me back? My relationship with my wife is critical. She is usually an instrument to keep me grounded. At least that's how I interpret. That's how it seems to me because she's just there.
My wife doesn't hesitate to tell me when I need to get grounded either. So
she just is. And I got to tell you, like when I think about all the times I screw up, which is pretty often, I picture her there helping me see it. She's just been very incredible in that way to help me, not in a way like shaming me or telling me how I'm doing wrong. She's just been helpful in that respect. And then it's a matter of surrender. You're not in charge. Stop trying to be in charge.
Yeah.
You don't get to decide what we're doing here. You get to do the work that's before you, and then it's a matter of humility, and I'm sorry, and then you get yourself back in routine.
Yeah.
That's the process of getting back on board, I guess.
It's perfect. And listener, there's no right answer to this, right? I'm just curious how Jason does it, right? And we all have for me, it's that I think it's really resetting every morning. It's that morning routine, really coming back to, right?
It is having that time every day. It's mission critical because it's the grounding wire that keeps you connected to what really matters.
Yep, 100%. So let's shift to. I'm excited about AI Marketing Academy, probably not as much as you are.
I'm very excited about it.
I do want to touch on it. So you're always ahead of the curve. You're always teaching us. I've been in the ecosystem of coaching around you for I think 8 years now.
Yeah.
And you're always 2, 3, 5 steps ahead of everybody. And now it's AI, right? So you've launched something new, AI Marketing Academy. So what inspired this next venture that you're working on?
Actually, I think Tom Ferry should receive a lot of credit for the inspiration behind it. He came to me, so we go to Jackson Hole to do a writing retreat to prep for Summit almost every year. Several years ago, or 2 years ago, I guess it was. AI was just starting to really be more commonly discussed. And he said, hey, for Summit this year, I need you to become an AI guru expert, basically, is what he said to me. And that was in June of 2023, I want to say. Yeah. And so really my diving into AI, and my subject matter has always been marketing, especially digital and technology. And so it was a natural progression from a study standpoint. But he pushed me. And then it went really well. It was received very well. And it led us to creating a workshop that was called AI Marketing Academy, which was a 4-week virtual intensive that we ran throughout 2024. And we had common feedback that said, we kept noticing people kept retaking it because it was evolving. It was different every time.
Right.
And people were like, I wish this was a membership or a community and not just a workshop. And so Tom said, hey, we're launching it at Elite Retreat in January of 2025. And I said, okay. And so I put the blinders up, got wired in, and we built it. So we built it outside of the ecosystem on purpose, where it's its own standalone platform, which gives me a level of autonomy to really have my own laboratory, so to speak, to build the content, test what works, and then deploy it out to our members at AI Marketing Academy. So we kicked it off mid to late January, and we're pushing 600 members today.
Wow.
And they're in it, and we're cranking it out, and they're seeing results in their marketing because, there's this quote from Seth Godin that I love. He said that AI is the biggest change since electricity. It's even bigger than the internet. And I think about, man, Tom put it like we were talking about this the other day, and he goes, AI is electricity in your marketing. It's what powers it. Yeah. And I was like, that really fits, because if you're trying to do marketing, especially digital, as human beings who are organic beings, we are poorly equipped in a digital first world to compete with what AI can help us do to scale. And so, especially if you're a busy entrepreneur, like if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably thinking, I'm struggling with time and marketing is a necessity in my business. I wish it was better. I wish it was faster. I wish it was easier. I wish it was less time intensive. And that's where I think, like, man, what would happen if you slowed down for a couple of minutes, 15, 20 minutes a day, to embrace the possibilities of AI? What could that do over a month, over 2 months, over 3 months in your marketing? And that's the value prop of AI Marketing Academy.
So people think of AI and marketing and they think, oh, it's something more to learn, right? It's another tool for marketing, create more business, create more problems. Maybe bridge the gap between that mindset to how it actually could free you up to have more time with who and what matters most in your life.
It's almost the opposite of what you described. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of people have learned the behavior of, oh no, I've got to learn how to tweet now. Oh no, I got to learn how to make videos now. Oh no, I got to learn this new piece of hardware or software that's now dominating our lives. For the first time ever, AI said, let me handle that for you. And it's the first time we've really seen a technology emerge where you're actually assigning to it some of the workload that otherwise you were handling. So instead of spending all the time writing intricate copy, infusing keywords for SEO, it's useful. And I often say, when you really think about what AI does, it produces generative outputs. The outputs are words, images, sounds, and videos. which are the raw materials of modern marketing. And so what I focus on in the academy is how can AI offload some of the video editing tasks? How can it offload the graphic design tasks? How can it offload the copywriting tasks? How can it, and we're moving into, now we're starting to see this world of agentic AI, which is AI agents that are actually doing multi-step processes for you. That's likely my focus next month in AIM. So every month we have a specific theme of focus. This month it's generative AI as a search engine. More people are asking questions on ChatGPT. How do you make sure your business gets discovered by those customers who are searching there? So we focus on that this month. Next month, we're going to go after some of the processes involved and how can you make AI do 1, 2, 3, 4, all the steps on its own so you've got way more time and way more scale in your business. And if you can learn a little, it can do a lot. That's the principle.
So exciting, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, really. If you're a listener, you're listening to this, like no joke, like using tools like AI Marketing Academy and having Jason coach you on this stuff really could provide more proximity and presence with your family just because you have that many more employees working for you. They're just digital ones, right? And it's actually pretty dang affordable compared to hiring people physically.
It is. Definitely.
All right, Jason, well, we're going to round third here. So I'm going to do a little rapid fire with you. This is always fun to do. So just a few questions for you. What's one daily habit that's keeping you sane right now?
Well, I feel like we've already talked about the one daily habit quite a bit today.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though I have my days where I fall off the cart, texting you gratitudes is a huge one. So we do this gratitude thing. That's being grateful and sending you my gratitudes is insanely helpful to me.
Love it, dude. Thank you. Favorite guilty pleasure snack at the airport? You travel a lot. What's the go-to?
I travel too much to have one of those, Matt. I really do. I mean,
or beverage.
Okay, if I'm racing around and I'm hungry, chicken nuggets at Chick-fil-A.
Okay, can't be. Man, I'll second that.
Yeah.
A recent moment where your kids made you laugh or surprised you.
Every day. Okay, so we were on vacation about a week ago. We were at Dollywood, and my youngest son, he's built a lot like me, and we were doing this silly little strut walking down the hallway, and he can do it just exactly like me. So he's like a little mini me walking next to me. And my other son tries to do it, and it's so funny because he doesn't move the way I move. He thinks like I think. We're a lot alike in different ways. But my little guy walking lock and step with me was cracking me up because he's so funny. They're both so witty. But that I don't know why that comes to mind. But I keep seeing him strutting around like a little dude. It was funny.
Kids are so totally unplanned, but what the kids will do to surprise you. We were watching American Idol the other night, and Carrie Underwood sang "How Great Thou Art" and just crushed it. Well, I played it back for my daughter Mia last night, and she's 15, and I started changing the words because she was kind of grumpy. I was trying to make her laugh, so I'm singing it, changing the words, and then I'm walking up the stairs because I won. She's laughing. I said, "I won. I broke you. I cracked you," and all of a sudden on speakerphone, really loud, I hear me singing. She was recording it, like totally behind my back, and I'm like, "Oh!" And she's like, "Who got who?"
Good. Man, we were upstairs having lunch today during the break, and my youngest son, who's a lot like me, he comes up to me, he goes, he got an Easter treat, and he has a little box with a little sticker that would keep it sealed, and he's over there just trying to pry the sticker off to get to the cookie that's inside the little box for a treat, and he's working. I was like, "Are you having a hard time with that, buddy?" And then he gets it, and he goes, whew. He's like, "You know that feeling you get when you do something really hard and then you get it?" And then my wife goes, "And that is your kid right there, because the things I think are hard, and the things he thinks are hard." Anyway, it was funny.
Awesome. All right, so one more question. What does one life mean to you?
That's a great question. For me, what one life means is an admission that your life is given to you. And it's given to you with purpose. I think it's really easy to live our life for the next big vacation or the next big thing or our big break and miss the life we were given. And what a one life means to me is you have one life. It's not for your glory. It's not for yourself. Even though that's what the world tells you, and that's what you inside of yourself often tell yourself. That's what I tell myself, but that's the lie. And one life is how do I say this succinctly? It's the sacrifice of that life, not for yourself, but for Christ.
It's beautiful, man. And that's how we have the biggest impact too, right?
Yeah.
Man, so good. So, Jason, someone wants to keep listening to you, keep learning from you. What's the best way to follow? I know you got blogs and YouTube and Instagram. Like,
Probably
what's
Instagram.
the best?
Instagram's probably the best. Jason Pantana on Instagram. That's probably the easiest place to connect with me. It's got all my links, and I post there the most often. That's probably the best.
Okay, awesome. And any final words, just to the person listening to this, right, that wants to grow a meaningful life, but not at the expense of who and what matters most at home. We're all longing for that harmony between work and life. Just any final word of encouragement you have for our listeners?
I would just say thanks for listening today. I mean, I think choosing a podcast like this, when you could choose so many other topics to fill your mind with, suggests to me that you want a better life. You want that one life. You want to keep things focused, and you've got good purpose behind why you're doing what you're doing. So thanks for listening. Dwell on good things, and this is a good thing that you're doing, Matt.
Thanks, Jason. Well said to wrap it up. So, listeners, if you want to visit theonelifepodcast.com, theonelifepodcast.com, we'll have show notes of this conversation with Jason, of course, information to get in touch with him. We'll have information for the AI Marketing Academy and his YouTube and blog and all the other things. Jason's got so much stuff out there to bolt onto, as well as the coaching platform if you want to explore Jason being a coach with you, or the Tom Ferry organization. We'll have that in there as well. Share this episode with somebody who you think it might encourage. Please, it helps us get the word out. And really, we just want to help more people and really just encourage our industry, because we all want that harmony between work and life. And again, we don't arrive, but we have to have intentional conversations to prioritize the conversation, and we can move the needle in that direction. So, Jason, man, thank you for being here. It means so much to me, dude. This was special for me. Thank you.
Thank you, especially for me too. Appreciate it.
I hope this episode encouraged you today. Thank you for subscribing, sharing, and rating the podcast. It truly means the world to me. And be sure to visit theonelifepodcast.com to join our community. That's where you'll find updates on virtual meetups, special events, and more. And remember, God created you on purpose for a purpose. You don't have to choose between a life of significance and a thriving business. You were made for both. This is One Life.